friends, it is so wonderful to see everybody here tonight. We have a jam-packed show for tonight. I do have a few thank yous that I have to go through and a couple of housekeeping things, and then we'll get this show started. You have green programs scattered around the room for you that will let you know the order of the writers who are going to be reading. So if you just follow that, we're going to try to get through the first side of the page and then take a brief intermission of about 10 minutes to give people a chance to go use the restroom, to get some wine and snacks. If you choose to get something crunchy over there, I would only ask that you don't use it during somebody's reading. That's all I would ask. No crunching during the readings. That would be great. The second thing is if you've been to a Moco Underground before and you have had wine here before, the policy is a little bit different tonight. We don't trust that any of you is over 21 tonight, so you will be carded and you will be stamped to make sure that we're not over-serving you. So it's no longer self-serve, so make sure that you are obeying the rules. I would like to say thank you to Sandy Spring Museum for 6 years of this program. It started off as something really small that was very self-serving because I did not feel like driving into DC or Bethesda or Baltimore. And I live in the area, so I thought, well, if I'm too lazy to get in the car and drive that far myself, I will make other people do that for me. And when we first started off, it was so small that it lived up to its name, Moco Underground. It really was underground, like nobody knew what we were doing. Even the museum didn't really know what we were doing. And 6 years later, you all have made it what it has become. Your spirit, your beautiful generosity with your work and with each other, the new friendships that you are open to making have been a true gift, not just to each other, but also genuinely so for me. And so I thank all of you for your attention and your care to this little program. And I hope that you will continue to show those emotions as the program moves forward, even after I step down. I can't tell you how amazing that is to me. I thought when I realized I was going to have to step down, I thought that would be it. And that's something that was so cherished to me and so important to so many of you, I have heard from many of you, would just end. And so I'm absolutely thrilled and grateful to introduce to you two super important folks that I would like to have come up and join me here. This is Pierre-Alain Auroux, who is going to be taking over for Moco Underground's leadership, and Laura Sturza, who is going to be his associate director. Yes? So get to know their faces, make sure you come and say hi to them, and when you need to get in touch with folks over the coming months, eventually we'll be transitioning into when you email Moco Underground, you will be emailing these two. So thank you so much. Two more things. Very briefly, the bar will close at 9 o'clock tonight, so please be aware of that. If you are planning on having a drink, you'll need to get it before 9 o'clock, so be watching the clock for that. And then finally, I am going to offer a plug of my own. You may have heard that this is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Maybe you have heard this, perhaps watched a football game, seen all of the flags flying, and heard the incessant chatter about it's our 250th, yay! I've heard that too, and I wanted something a little bit more reflective in terms of that, marking that anniversary, that milestone. So far this year, I've been working with the museum, and I have been teaching a series of writing workshops, creative writing workshops. We've already had two, and the third one will be coming up. It's called the Garden of Liberty Workshop. And we have been investigating, reflecting upon, arguing with, contending with, responding to, imagining the Declaration in all different kinds of ways, in a little bit more deeper of a context than what I think some of us would be interested in seeing at this particular point in time. And so if you are interested in that, it's called the Garden of Liberty Workshop. The next one will be coming up in May. And if I had half a brain cell in my head working today, I would have the date for you. But you can find it on the Sandy Spring Museum's website. So it's called Garden of Liberty. You get a discount for being a member. And we actually look at the Declaration text, as well as having the archivist for the museum, Lydia Frazier, comes and provides a sort of a mini lesson for us of relevant documents from our specific areas, history around that time frame, and how the Declaration of Independence affected people in this particular area from all walks of life. And to be able to see those documents, the original ones, up close and personal, and be able to engage with them is really a remarkable gift. So I highly recommend it. And I teach just the same way I do this. I'm very informal, I'm very relaxed, and I'm very supportive. So if that sounds like something you would like to do, then I invite you to check it out, Garden of Liberty. And now that all the plugs are done, we will go ahead and start with the program. Our first reader is someone that I cannot wait to have you here read. She has read a couple of times for us in the past, and she is a very dynamic reader. So enjoy. Here comes Jane. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. You're just amazing, and that's all I need to say. Run from Sunday, activist battle for love, morality, and the planet's future. It is a psychological environmental thriller based in modern-day Texas against big oil. This is the opening chapter called Vanishing Light. June 15th, 2019, 4:10 a.m., Yellowstone National Park, Wyoming. Dad, play dead. It took a few moments for her words to make sense as Ethan's eyes adjusted to the stars. A whoosh of air scattered ashes from their campfire. This wasn't nature's soundtrack. Ethan turned his head. A grizzly, 400 pounds, stood just yards away, staring at them. It dropped its head and snapped its jaws, then lunged forward in one fluid motion. Its jaws locked around Riley's sleeping bag, twisted its neck, and flung her like a toy. The bag hit the ground 6 feet away with his 13-year-old daughter still trapped inside, and she screamed. Ethan yelled, "Riley, the zipper! Get the zipper!" The bear tore at her nightshirt, snuffling and probing, driven by some primal instinct. Clapping his hands, Ethan yelled, "Hey, hey, hey, over here!" But the bear focused on Riley with single-minded intensity, ignoring him completely. His hands trembled as he fumbled with the flashlight, wishing it were a gun. When the beam caught the bear, its eyes lit up yellow-green, and it growled deep inside its chest before clamping down on her arm. Saliva flew across her cheek. "Dad, it's got my arm! It's got my arm!" Blood sprayed everywhere. "Riley, move! You gotta move!" But Riley couldn't. The zipper was stuck. A cruel technological failure at the worst possible moment. Then the bear turned and charged at him. Ethan dropped to the ground, curling into a ball as a massive paw slammed into his shoulder, flipping him halfway over. He stayed face down, but couldn't get his hands around his neck in time. The bear huffed beside his ear, and it smelled like death. Drool streamed down his neck. Then claws raked his shoulder. The pain was indescribable, like being torn apart from the inside out. When he felt something warm running down his back, he knew it was his own blood. Riley kept screaming. The bear stepped off Ethan's back with a sharp, loud woof, then turned back to Riley with renewed focus. Ethan pushed himself up, barely noticing the blood running down his arm as the bear clamped her bag in its jaws and dragged her through the campfire's dying embers. He chased after them, crashing through the dark undergrowth. Branches snapped around him, and then he heard a sick crunching sound like bones breaking under pressure. Thorns tore at his pants as he stumbled forward. A fallen log caught his foot and sent him crashing face first into the ground. He should move. The thought came from nowhere, a ghost of an instinct. Something sharp scraped his eye. He shoved himself up, feeling wetness on his cheek, though he hadn't felt the cut. Pain flared in his shoulder. Now he had no idea which way to run. In the sudden stillness, her voice rose through the trees. "Dad, I can't feel my arm." A second later, a scream, then silence. "No, Riley, no!" He ran, or imagined he was running, until a clearing opened up ahead, and he saw her. Out of desperation, he shouted, "Baby, run! You gotta run!" But Riley couldn't. Riley lay motionless on the ground, her injuries catastrophic. She wasn't going to make it. The bear had shredded her arm to the bone. Torn flesh dangled from her elbows like ribbons. Her hair and clothes were soaked in blood that looked black in the dim light. From the wound in her chest, a frothy foam-like substance bubbled as she labored to breathe. The foam was pink in places, bright red in others. The bear caught Ethan's scent and rose onto its hind legs, towering above the grass. Its breath steamed in the cold air as it sniffed, then spotted him near the edge of the clearing, clacked its teeth, and bellowed, a sound that seemed to come from its gut. Ethan stepped back and lost his footing, staggering as he scanned the ground for anything that might help. A rock, a branch, something. He grabbed a rock and hurled it, striking the bear's head. The bear dropped to all fours. Ethan threw another. The bear hunched low, ears forward, fur rising into a hump, and advanced like a landslide. A deep growl ripped from its chest, shaking the air as it charged, dirt and pine needles flying with each pounding step. Thank you.
Did I tell you? Yeah. Our next reader will be Dr. Patricia Scipio. Come on down.
Well, good evening. I am going to read to you from an anthology. The name of the anthology is Unstoppable: Stories of Grit, Determination, and Perseverance. I co-authored this book with my mentor, Lisa Nichols, and my story is in chapter 2. You are in charge of you. The key wouldn't turn. I jiggled it, took it out, tried it again. I turned it left, then right. My hand started shaking as I glanced over my shoulder to see if anyone was looking. The key worked just fine yesterday. Standing there with a plastic grocery bag in one hand and a key that would not turn in the other, I knew something was wrong. The kind of wrong that makes your heart stop and your stomach drop. This was my home, my sanctuary, the place I've been so proud to call my own. The day I turned 18, I had moved out of the cramped apartment in the Bronx, which I shared very little space with 5 siblings. We were fighting over privacy, we were fighting over TV, we were fighting over a seat on the only couch we owned. I tried again. Maybe the lock was just jammed. I knelt to peer at the lock, and my heart started to panic. I realized they changed the lock. I was 2 days late on the rent. 2 days. I was a good tenant, and I thought for sure they would have called or left me a note if my tardiness was going to be a problem. But no, clearly the homeowner didn't care about grace periods or compassion. The rent was late, and I was out. No warning, no plan B, and no sympathy. Everything I owned, my favorite clothes, my important documents, the few things that I treasured the most was behind that door. My pride and sense of independence evaporated instantly. I stood there stunned as the realization set in. The only option was the one I had vowed never to take, going back to my parents' apartment in the projects. I blinked tears as I made my way back to the life I had spent years trying to get out of. At that moment, as I walked home, the streets of the Bronx neighborhood seemed to taunt me. And it was a reflection to me of my own failure. But yet, something was happening too. A fire lit within. And I made myself a promise: never again. Never again would I be at the mercy of someone else's decisions. Never again would I let myself be powerless. From the day forward, I swore I would take care of myself, no matter what it took. No one would ever lock me out of my own life again. You're hired. They say that failure is nothing more than success in progress. One thing I learned over the years is that it doesn't matter how trained you are, how prepared you think you are, or how hard you work. Sometimes failure is inevitable. The key is to leverage it into success. The challenge is nobody really tells you how. Most of us can rattle off some algebra terms, a few elements on the periodic table, and other random facts we learned in school. But the curriculum fell short when it came to teaching the principles of success. And that's because it cannot be learned from a book. Success is forged through experiences, and in most cases, through failures. Thank you.
Could you hear everyone? I don't know if it was just me. I mean, I know I was doing that. So thank you so much. Our next reader is Cynthia Villa.
Oh, oops. I took it out. Wait, I don't know if I should put it back. Okay, there you go. Sorry. Yeah, I'm a little bit under the weather, as you can tell from my voice. No, I don't smoke. I just have a 18-month-old baby girl, and she got sick, and so I got it too. That's how it works. But yeah, I'll be reading 2 poems, and kind of like come from my own life and just from what I'm living through as a mom. And the other one is kind of like the first time when I moved out of my parents' house and I was living in a new city. Okay. Fireflies. We walk through the soft ends of a sunset. It's grass on my toes, damp, from yesterday's storm. I don't feel the weight of her on my hips. The loud singing of crickets, katydids, and cicadas absorb her cries, bring out her studious eyes, carry us into the descending darkness of cool, humid air. The twinkling lights of fireflies call us as they appear in the distance. We search for them. We move slowly so we catch their light appear around us. When was the last time we tried to follow a firefly, watch it dance into the dark green leaves? The unknowns shedding in light. I watch it meander enough to carry us in this new silence. I see my wonder in her eyes brought to life. If I stay too little in these moments, not let her savor them before they disappear, letting the door shut too hastily, I fear they'll never return. There will be butterflies. There will be fireflies. I have to promise myself they will find us. That's one. So this next one, I'm still kind of going through a few revisions, and have been kind of submitting it shyly. So if you guys know of any place where this could fit, I'm all ears. Premonitions. The scene carries its meaning in the blackbirds, how they line the wire at first hour, calculated dive bombs against a noisy mockingbird. A crow flies, cutting the crescent humidity, its friends pecking grass. I walk, and they dig me with cause to something unknown, known, hard to say as I turn the corner. Their call fills the day, a faded church on St. Roch passing the cemetery. They let acorns fall in echoes of loneliness and futility inside my chest. My new home bursts with cause. A stranger, I snap a photo, they flap wings precisely so, to watch me from a curved branch of a mossy oak tree. Stare directly at my foolishness. Inflection. How will she survive? When the sun falls heavy, streets flood, bodies leave, the trees quiver. Let her be. Humorless crows, they stand, beaks raised, adding weight to the purple sky. That's it. Thank you.
That was so lovely. Just beautiful. Thank you. Our next reader, I have been waiting to hear for some time. We were supposed to hear from him a few months back, and it didn't happen, but that makes it even sweeter that Frank gets to be here today. So please welcome Frank S. Joseph.
Thank you for that very lovely introduction. It's true, I am Frank Joseph, and I am the author of the award-winning Chicago trilogy, of which this is the third novel, but all three are back there on the table. And these are tales of blacks and whites, Christians and Jews, how children view the world, conflict and forgiveness, and Chicago at mid-century, a great city going up in flames. What I'm going to read you is the opening of To Do Justice, and the voice you're going to hear is that of a girl nicknamed Pinky, and she's a biracial girl who, I'm going to say something very politically incorrect here, but it seems to convey the idea, who looks white but thinks black. And I am obviously not that, so I beg your indulgence. Imagine that I'm that. Ever since I'm little, I be wondering who my mama is. It ain't Jolene. Jolene been raising me, but I ain't her blood. Reminds me of it every chance she gets. Picked me out of a trash pile one day, that's what Jolene says, like a maggot out of a garbage can. If I'm trash, I say, why you done it? Just teasing, she says. You be worth real money. Check for $102.80 on the first of every month. Calls it her pinky check. Long as the welfare keeps sending the pinky check, that's all she cares about, Jolene. Jolene just laughs when I ask about my real mama. One day I be finding her, though. See does Jolene laugh when that day comes. Jolene don't treat Bettina no better than me, even though Bettina be blood and flesh to her. Bettina asks who her papa was, but Jolene pretends she don't hear. Poor little thing, Bettina, bumping into things like she does. Jolene says Bettina was born with a caul. That's why she's so clumsy. I know better, though. Bettina can't help it. Something wrong inside her head. She's plenty smart, all right. Just something inside there don't work how it's supposed to, like a doorbell is busted or a toaster don't pop. All Jolene cares about is the money, though. $102.80 for me and $94.73 for Bettina. And Bettina will be worth more soon, Jolene says. Worth as much as you, gal. $102.80 a month when she turns 9. Then in September, when you turn 12, you'll be worth $106.35, and Jolene grins. No wonder Jolene gets so happy when she talks about the money. We're her most valuable property. That's why I gotta protect my baby sister best I can. Bettina's my most valuable property. Till I find my real mama, Bettina's the closest thing to kinfolk I got in the world. Should have protected Bettina better than I did, though, the day that things got turned upside down. That day must have been 100 degrees out. It was a Monday, July 12th, 1965. Summer hardly started. Jolene says, gal, you ain't seen hot yet. Wait till it gets August. We'll see about hot. Sitting in the window all the while, electric fan blowing in her face. Pinky, she says, you feel all that hot? Go cool off in the hydrant with your baby sister. That's what folks do on Morgan Street in hot summers. Open a fire plug so kids can play in it. Can't go to the Taylor pool. Been closed for years. I hear there's city pools open in other parts of town, but not on the west side. Not around Morgan Street anyhow. City don't spend no money here. Trash sits in garbage cans till it turns right. My school, Galileo, it's got holes in the roof. Walk down the wrong hallway while it's storming and you get wet without never leaving the building. No, sir, no Taylor pool since I'm little, and no sign when it'll open again, if it ever does. It's too hot to watch TV even. I put on cutoffs and thongs, what Jolene calls sandals, only they're made of rubber tires, not leather. I can play in the hydrant if I want. I ain't 12 till September. Outside, sun's like a furnace on my neck. Fire plug in front of our building goes spraying every which way, onto the cars, kids, grown-ups too. Plenty grown-ups out in the street, some cooling off in the water their own selves and laughing like they're kids all over again. Others sitting on folding chairs drinking Old English 800 malt liquor out of paper bags. Don't matter it's a Monday or a Sunday or what it is, grown-ups be out on Morgan Street in summer. Why not? Ain't got no jobs to tend to, today nor no other day. Bettina sings out, Pinky, come on in. I smiled, ducked my head, and dashed towards her, slip-sliding on the street tar. Wouldn't care if I slipped and fell. The cold water on my hot skin feels so good. Someone throwing an old rubber ball back and forth. Someone else got a Frisbee. We toss them with the other kids till the spray catches the ball and carries it into traffic. Bettina goes chasing behind. I shout, "Careful, gal, don't get yourself hit by no truck," but it's so much fun splashing, I forget to keep an eye on her. Forgot about Bettina till I hear the siren. It's a squad car, blue cherry spinning around. Cop gets out the driver door and waves Bettina over. I throw down the Frisbee and run to where they're standing. Cop, he's one of them greaseball Italians that run things around here. Do their business in them social clubs and ice cream parlors over to Taylor Street and Racine. Walk around smoking cheap cigars and acting like they own it all. I hear the Irish and the Polish got the cop racket sewed up in other parts of town, but around here it's the Dagos. Doubt if the colored be in charge in any part of town. Don't know what this fat pig wants with an 8-year-old colored gal, though. I walk over, ask what's up. He says, "Who you?" Her sister. He says to Bettina, "That's so. Sure don't look like the two of you are related. Tell me, little girl, what for you got a white sister?" "She's colored too," Bettina says, sticking up for me. Cop looks me over. "Maybe you are," he says, "little bit at least."
Ah, Taylor Street. Yep. Thank you so much, Frank. Our next reader is Wendy Goodman, a frequent reader and a good friend, and I'm so happy that she could be here tonight. So come on down, Wendy.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I started this little creative writing journey at what turned out to be the exact same time Julia created this, but I was brand new, so I thought it was like been around forever. And Julia taught me what writing community is. That was a whole other piece that I didn't know would be a part of this, and it's really the best part of it. So thank you, Julia, and thank you, everyone, for being out here listening to us tonight. This is a personal essay called Eclipsed, which was published in the Woven Tale Press in February, a really gorgeous journal. And it feels really appropriate for right now. If anybody else has been completely enthralled with Artemis II over the last many days, a news I look forward to every day, happily blocking out all the rest of it. Thank you. "What you doing out here, Wen?" my father asked as he peeked out the sliding glass doors onto the patio. "Checking out the moon." I was seated in one of 3 wrought iron chairs on the brick patio in the rear of my father's Spanish-style home in Boca Raton. "Oh boy, look at that. Isn't that something?" he said as he stepped outside. "Is that full?" It was the first night of Passover, and the alignment of the Jewish calendar and the lunar calendar meant the moon was full, casting its bright white light across the red brick. To add to the holiday festivities and the welcoming in of spring, as Passover does, a lunar eclipse was expected before sunrise. April in Florida meant 80 degrees before dawn, making it easy to roll out of bed half asleep. I had been looking forward to this luck of location and timing for weeks, and it felt like my reward for making this long overdue visit. "Yep, it's full, and there's a lunar eclipse in the morning at 5:20. I'm getting up for it." "Have you ever seen one?" he asked. "A few times," I said. "Never a total eclipse, only partial, like this one will be from here." "Huh, I've never seen one," he said. "I'd love to join you. How about waking me up?" Oh no. Why did I open my mouth? I must have been dizzy from the full moon, goofy from the glow. All at once, I felt vulnerable and exposed and stuck. Sure, I responded as the panic crept up my spine. My father and I, best pals until my parents split when I was 11, had been trapped for decades in a painful cycle alternating between closeness and estrangement. The micro abuses of our push and pull relationship had long taken a toll on my heart. Where my father was concerned, I was careful not to show too much. Where the moon was concerned, my heart was as open and vast as the Milky Way. These 2 orbits couldn't come together. And things were particularly bad between us. 2 recent life events had significantly changed my insides. My father's divorce from his second wife 7 years ago, and my mother's death 2 years ago. My father, again a bachelor, stirred up too many buried memories. I still had PTSD from his bachelor pad, where I spent every other weekend of the early 80s. Kenny Rogers through the years pouring out of the record player, a freezer stuffed with discounted Entenmann's crumb cake, Hebrew National hot dogs in the fridge, cans of baked beans in the cupboard, his toupee resting on a bedside lampshade. I was only 11, but I knew it was sad, and I worried all the time that he was lonely. Then there's my mother dying. It's simple, really. She wasn't supposed to die first, leaving me on this planet without her. It wasn't supposed to go that way. This was the 1-2 punch that knocked out my already challenged relationship with my father, so we stopped going to Florida. But I wanted to visit my 90-year-old aunt in Key West, my mother's older sister. I hadn't seen her since my mother died, and if I went to Key West, I would have to go to Boca. So here we were for the first time in 8 years. Always the quick thinker, even in the middle of a panic attack, I responded, how about I get up, check the cloud cover, see if we can see anything. I'll get you up if we've got something. I bought myself time. It's a date when. We sat silently in the moonlight a few minutes more. It's a date when rang in my ears. I was stunned. My moon-loving genes came from my mom. He loved the water, the beach. I'd never heard him say a word about the moon or related astronomical wonder. I won't lie, beneath the shock was delight. He was tender, gentle, so in the moment, all things my father generally wasn't. We are a family of know-it-alls, and when my father didn't know something, he knew someone who did. His willingness to not know stirred me. We said goodnight. He headed inside, pausing at the sliding glass doors. Don't forget to get me up, Wen. I won't, Dad. I laid awake all night on the lumpy pull-out couch. The realization of how intimate a moment watching the eclipse with my father would be set off a meteoric explosion of fear. I couldn't go through with it. I couldn't go into his bedroom to wake him. I couldn't find him there sleeping in his undershirt and boxers, toupee on the lampshade like when I was 11. I wanted to share this with him, the quiet, the dark, the majesty, but something would go wrong. I didn't trust he could be there in the moment with me. I couldn't share a part of me with him and have him mutter about a bad view. So I didn't. Later in the morning, after the sun rose, my father yelled to me from his bedroom, Wen, you didn't get me up. Did you go out? How was it? I'm watching the replay on the news. I lied. It was cloudy. I couldn't see a thing, Dad, so I let you sleep. Oh, what a shame, was all he said. But I could feel his disappointment, and it weighed on me. Was he disappointed not to see the eclipse or not to share the experience with me? Either way, my heart ached. I spent the day kicking myself for not taking a chance on him, berating myself for not risking my heart. I had this moment, an opportunity in the palm of my hand, and I blew it away like a kiss or a ladybug without any of the charm or hope. The fear I felt that night before for revealing my heart was now choking me in the form of regret for concealing it. That night, our last night, I sat outside beneath the moon again, hoping for some relief from the angst, a chance to breathe in the peace and quiet. My father stepped outside to join me. There we were again, this time in silence. The next morning, a few hours before we left, my father started planting the seeds of turmoil around plans for Thanksgiving 6 months from then. That catapulted us back into our own distinct spheres. This was the push and pull of our relationship. This was the cosmic dance we did around intimacy. Was it the intimate moment I feared, or was it the inevitable loss of it? Pull me close and then push me away, a planetary collision of broken hearts, a meteor shower of lost hope. Maybe the astronomical event wasn't the eclipse. Maybe the astronomical event was what it felt like on the patio. The hard, oddly comfortable wrought iron chairs, the buzz and hum of the fountain in the man-made lake, the palm trees wavering in the sweet, sultry South Florida breeze, gazing in wonder at the moon together. In that first moment, I was open, unafraid, willing to say, this is something I love. Maybe he sensed it and felt safe to ask, can you show me? That was our totality. when the moon passed directly behind the Earth and into its shadow. Then, slowly, over the next many hours, like the Earth and the moon, we returned to our separate orbits.
Darn it, Wendy. That was lovely, lovely. I don't know if you all fully understand what a privilege it is for me to hear pieces from you. It is such a joy. I know you all feel like, oh, we're getting so much from Julia. No, you're giving so much to Julia. That was just lovely. So our last reader, before we take a little bit of a break to go and get some tissues, and will be Tom Navratil. Am I saying that right, Tom? Excellent. So come on down, Tom.
Thank you so much, Julia. My debut novel is entitled Dog's Breakfast, which, for those of you who have better things to do than keep track of obscure British slang, it means a complete mess, a chaotic situation. And it was published last year on, as it happens, January 21st, which was day one of what is probably the most dog's breakfasty government in our country's history. So there's some karma there, I hope. The story is a parody of diplomatic life, and the two main characters in this small U.S. embassy are the DCM, which is the Deputy Chief of Mission, the number 2 in the embassy, who is the understudy to the ambassador, and kind of the chief operating officer of the embassy, if you will, with the ambassador being the CEO. And the other main character is Tara Zadani, a newly arrived junior officer. And the DCM is passionately in love with his career, and he's afraid that this backwater embassy, he's going to stall out. So he goes rogue, and he's going to undermine the ambassador to try to supplant him. And what I'm going to read is a kind of a pivotal encounter between the DCM and Tara, who has been summoned to his office for a meeting, and she doesn't know why. Wake up, everybody. Sit, please, the DCM greeted her. Without looking up from his computer screen, he pointed toward the coffee table and chairs in the corner. Tara sat and watched his eyes track back and forth across the screen. His eyebrows, so animated every previous time she'd seen him, remained still. But they looked dangerous somehow, like they could pounce. After a while, he stood, came around from behind his desk, closed the office door, and instead of sitting across from her, eased into the chair next to Tara's. With an effort, she stopped herself from shifting away or shrinking into herself. You know how I like to periodically check in with the first and second tour officers, mentor, see if I can help or guide in any way? Tara nodded. His eyebrows vibrated as if trying to break free. This isn't one of those. I have a special, confidential matter for you, just for you. It's unusual and very sensitive, super close hold. Almost sounds like he's about to pull down his pants, Tara thought. That would be so weird and embarrassing. The ambassador's dog was poisoned yesterday. Tara pictured the chocolate lab collapsed on the back lawn. The DCM shook his head. Not fatally. Listen, I'm telling you this in confidence. Very few people know about it. We're treating it as a possible security threat. That is also not to be shared. The ambassador has put me in charge of the embassy's response, and I need your help. He paused as if she needed time to process. Poor Davos, is he going to be okay? The ambassador is hopeful, but keep this quiet. You are to report only to me, he continued, not to Robert or Chuck or the ambassador or anyone. I don't want lines of communication tangled. This is even weirder, Tara thought. What would you like me to do? Find out what happened. Talk to the household staff, the guards, and the groundskeepers, but subtly, in the course of normal business. Don't interrogate them. This is a delicate task and a difficult one. Frankly, I don't know if you're up to it, but it's possible you might be. We'll see. You're well positioned. You want me to find out who poisoned Davos? Yes. Is there a deadline? Mostly, we want to make sure there's not a dead dog. He flicked a tight smile and bounced his eyebrows. For now, tighten up the procedures. Have the household staff keep the dog on a leash whenever he's in the yard. I'm pretty sure they're not supposed to be doing pet care. That's part of what makes this delicate. They sat for another moment, side by side, until the DCM tilted his head and said, "Indulge me in something, please. An old habit of mine." Tara looked at him, unsure what he was asking. "I'd like you to summarize your instructions. Find out what happened to Davos." The DCM's entire face drooped in disappointment. "Discreetly," she added, "and discuss it with no one but you. For your sake as well as mine." He smiled, a bit creepily. That seemed to be the final word. As Tara stood to leave, the DCM remained seated. She had to go around the coffee table and cross in front of him. Before she reached the door, he spoke again. "I'm counting on you." Tara nodded and grasped the doorknob. A confidential assignment from the front office could be considered an honor, a vote of confidence. So why did it feel so odd? She opened the door and stepped back into the waiting area, where the lurking, smirking presence of Victor Manchego did not lift her spirits. She walked back toward the General Services office, back toward her regular workload. Although she could think of no reason for the DCM to have anything against her, it occurred to her that she may be getting set up to fail. If so, he just invited the wrong girl to the prom.
Okay, the dog named Davos. That's hilarious. Thank you so much. We are going to take about a 10-minute break, so you'll hear my dulcet tones coming back in about 10 minutes to tell you it's time to take your seats. During the break, please feel free to go and get your hand stamped and have some beverages. There's also water and soda, crunchy snacks back there, sweet snacks, enjoy those. And while you're doing that, please take a moment to go to the table on the other side of the room and take a look at some of the books that are here from the authors who are reading them tonight. And they're for sale, and some are pre-ordering soon, being released soon. We'll have more information about that later in the second half. Have a nice intermission. I'm so glad you all are having so much fun. This makes me so happy. I'm actually sorry that I have to call you back to attention, but you're not going to be sorry after you hear the next round of readers. I actually had, my mom was a high school teacher as well as I was, and when she retired, they gave her one of those old-fashioned brass bells that are so loud, and I have been known to use that in various situations, but I thought I'd spare that for you tonight. So thank you for coming back for the second half of our program. We have a number of amazing readers. In the second half, too, we're so lucky. And we are going to kick things off this second half with our first reader, who is going to be helping Pierre-Alain Auroux in terms of continuing Moco Underground after I step down, Laura Sturza.
Oh, so great to be here with you all. Julia, thank you. All right, this is You Always Signed Your Letters, Love, Dad. Hi, Dad. I keep wondering how you'd respond if you'd lived to see the mess of these recent years. You were devout about following the news, but has it all been too much or what? The elections, the pandemic, the racial reckoning, the teardowns of institutions you loved. You'd understand my grief over the decimation of the Washington Post, the Kennedy Center. Plus, there was that little insurrection just down the road from where you spent your career. as a federal worker. Maybe your passion for current events is part of why I needed to reconnect with you. You've been on my mind so much lately that I started digging through everything you'd saved, the report cards, the archery awards, notes from parent-teacher conferences. It reminded me that I'd built a believable character arc for you. You were the villain with an underlying soft heart, horribly abused by your father, unwittingly taking on his part when raising your two girls. Our narrative included me confronting you in your later years about your rage. You took responsibility. I mustered forgiveness. Trying to build a case in your defense, Mom always said, your father loved you girls so much. As I dug through the remnants you left behind, I started to believe her theory. Talking was never your strongest skill. I realized how out of place you might have felt living with 3 females, especially since Mom and I were always extremely verbal. But in the paper trail you left, I found evidence of your efforts to converse with me in your own ways. There was a short note you sent me in 1978, my first year away at college. It's in your beautiful handwriting, a reminder of the countless attempts you made to improve your daughter's penmanship. Dear Laura, don't let yourself get discouraged, you began, then offered ideas for making friends and getting involved in clubs. You signed off, as you always did, love, Dad. The love, Dad crumpled me. I also found a cassette with a voice message from 2 weeks before you passed. You painstakingly formed the words, "Hi, Laura, this is Dad. Just calling to say hello. I love you, darling. Bye-bye now." In another box, I unearthed the Super 8 films and had them digitized in a 59-second grainy film. I wear a thick white bathing cap. At age 2, I still have a touch of baby fat and sport the dimple that prompted aunts to think my cheek was theirs to pinch. You carry me down the concrete steps into the pool. You've got the start of the weight gain that took hold of you later. Your dark, ultra curly hair is short. You smile at me the whole time. You dance with me in the water, spinning me around in a way you wouldn't live to do at my wedding. With every box, I saw how much you cared about me, how you'd want to know that I'm okay. Despite the pain our world faces, I'm all right. I've got Tom. I'm healthy. I'm looking out for Mom. I've got wonderful friends, and of course, the cats and the writing. I've got some ideas about how you would have responded to what's happened over the past few years. You would yell at the TV and the newspaper louder than my husband, Tom. You and Tom would have watched the news together with you using the colorful language I picked up from you. Tom grew up with polite Midwestern restraint. Generally, he finds my foul mouth amusing, except when he's appalled. You would have been proud of the results of my more focused attention on my writing career, proof you'd finally passed on your love of the news to me. Before the newspaper was stripped of its integrity, you'd have shown my clips to everyone at the assisted living facility you'd share with Mom. "That's my daughter in the Washington Post," you'd have said. It took catastrophic worldwide events for me to wish you were here again. Though I would have fretted over you as I do over Mom. She recently told me you worried about me too. Like when I had that anxiety attack and was taken to the hospital during my first year of college and you were 4 hours away. I understand now that I'm a step-parent. Just like you, Dad, I got 2 girls. Reconnecting with you wasn't something I thought would come from so much horrific news, but I'll take it. It's good to have you around again. Your voice comes through me as I wander the house, cursing over the latest dire news reports. I stomp down the stairs, channeling you, and I feel slightly better knowing you're with me. Love, Laura.
That was lovely. And I'm sorry, like Midwesterners not being cussers? You know I'm from the Midwest, right? I mean, hell yeah. Our next reader will be Marguerite. Am I saying that correctly? And are you going to use the stool? Did we decide? Let's see where I stand. All right. Marguerite, everyone.
I write a lot of family stories, and in this particular one, I just noticed also lately, a lot of them have to do with food. I don't know why. This one is called Chocolate Pudding. My little brother stamped his foot and yelled at me, "I want chocolate pudding." He was a pretty angry 5-year-old. I saw his anger, but I was only 8 myself, and I was alone with him in our 5th-floor walk-up apartment in the Bronx, New York. Our mother had left moments before with a heavy bag of wet laundry to carry to the local laundromat for drying. She left me in charge for the next hour. There was no washer or dryer in our home. We were a hard-scrabble immigrant family which couldn't afford such luxuries. Actually, almost anything that we didn't do ourselves was a luxury. Mama's hands were always red and chapped from washing our clothes and towels by hand on a small metal washboard in the bathtub. She worked harder than anyone else in our little family of 4. And now she'd left me, a 3rd grader, in charge for the next hour of my little brother. Of course, that assignment came with many cautions, admonitions, and lots of instructions. I understood I was in charge, a big first-time responsibility. I had to keep my kid brother safe and also happy. So what was this thing he was asking for? Chocolate pudding? I had no idea. Our family were European Holocaust survivors, so the most basic foods in the new country were pretty new to us. We couldn't afford to eat out, and we didn't have American friends to invite us to their table. We didn't own a television, another luxury, so we didn't see advertisements or shows with food. Chocolate pudding. It was something I'd never heard about, but my little brother wanted it. Actually, he insisted on it, demanding something that was a mystery to me. Then he started crying. My little heart broke. He was so sad. I wanted to be a good big sister, to take care of him. But how? I put my skinny, yes, they were skinny, little arms around him, rocking us both. And we were both crying. I was supposed to be grown up, able to keep him safe and happy. I didn't want to fail. It was all up to me. I had to think. I started asking my brother questions. Where did you see this thing, this chocolate pudding? I ate some at my friend Freddie's house. Did Mama know? No. Was it lunch? No, a dessert. Oh, so it was sweet. Yes, very sweet. What did it look like? Cocoa, but not to drink, to eat with a spoon. So I climbed up on a chair, brought down the tin of cocoa and the sugar, and now my brother's eyes, already big and beautifully blue, got even bigger. Are you going to make some for me? I said I would try if he would help me. He described it, saying it was soft like cottage cheese, but very smooth. I took the container of cottage cheese out of the refrigerator, put it on the scrubbed, worn Formica top of the 1950s chrome-footed table, wrapped my mother's apron several times around me, knelt up on a chair, and smashed that cottage cheese to total smoothness. It was a good thing that I had the apron wrapped all around me, especially when I started adding the cocoa powder. My brother kept telling me to add more cocoa until the mixture looked like chocolate. I added sugar to sweeten it, and he tasted it. More sugar, he said. Lots more sugar. So I kept adding sugar. Mama was still gone, but my little brother wasn't crying anymore. Then he tasted it, saying it tasted good, but something still wasn't right. It was too smooth now. It needed a little bit of lumps. What could I use for lumps? There was no more cottage cheese. I looked around and I saw the fruit bowl. And my eyes fell on the round green grapes. I took only 10 because I didn't want to take all the grapes. And I mixed them in. Maybe I'd made chocolate pudding. I put some in a small bowl and I served it to him and watched as he dug in. He liked it. As a matter of fact, he asked for a second helping. I was proud and happy, so I gave it to him, and then Mama walked in. She looked very tired from walking home and up 5 flights of stairs with that heavy load, and then she looked right at us. My brother's face was smeared everywhere with our chocolate pudding. Lots more was dripping from his face, his spoon on the table and on the floor, and Mama's apron looked like a splatter painting. And all around us were clouds of cocoa powder and sugar. Now I was afraid. Realizing what a mess I'd made and knowing how tired Mama was, I looked at Mama, and she suddenly started laughing so hard that the laundry bag just plopped onto the floor. Clearly, someone borrowed my recipe, because now I've been seeing video reels on Facebook showing chocolate pudding made in the microwave using cocoa, mascarpone cheese, sugar, and a dash of vanilla. I guess adding grapes just didn't appeal, except perhaps to my little brother. Thank you. And thank you that I'm able to do this while you're still
Well,
here.
I'm still here.
I'm
yes.
excited.
I am so happy you were able to be here. Oh my gosh, I really wasn't sure if that was going to be an edible concoction. Was anybody else a little nervous there? I mean, I have 3 kids. I know what can happen in a kitchen. I know what happens in my kitchen without 3 kids. Our next writer will be Hannah Harley. Come on down.
Thank you so much to Juliet always, and to the other readers tonight for sharing your work. I am going to be reading, not over this noise, hopefully, from my debut novel, which is coming out next year. There are little cards at that back table if you want to take one. They're free, of course, so please feel free. And all you need to know for this excerpt that I'm going to be reading is that the main character, who in this scene runs into a guy she used to date who dumped her, she has recently joined a cult-like group with whom she now lives, and their spiritual practices are escalating into deeper and deeper extremes. It was Celine's turn to do the weekly shopping. Inside the store, she pushed around a cart. Most sections were lifeless and flat, so much plastic, so much processing, the energy wrung out by factories and greed. The produce section, though, was vibrating with aliveness, with the energy of those living things. At the pile of shining red tomatoes, she placed both hands on their skins and closed her eyes. She felt them pulsing beneath her hands, so present, so real. These subtleties, they'd been here all along. She'd just been too asleep to notice. Celine? She didn't rush her movements. She finished placing the final tomato in her cart. Then she turned toward the sound of the voice. Danny, standing there with a naked look on his face, a little surprised, a little awkward. A woman standing next to him, a basket in the crook of her elbow. Celine took him in, felt her breath. Danny, she said at last. Hey, yeah, hi, he said. It's been a long time, years. After they'd started their protocol in earnest at the house, Celine had become increasingly uncomfortable anytime she went out in public. Their training had sharpened her perception to such a degree that she felt effectively psychic when interacting with normal people out in the regular world. Like having a strong intuition, she thought at first, except no, it didn't feel like intuition, something she had to guess at or trust, something she could easily brush away. It just felt like vision, like English language subtitles on an English language film. She'd felt intrusive and inappropriate, being able to read all those emotions on the sleepwalking faces of others, things they probably didn't even know they were feeling, and certainly didn't realize they were broadcasting. Celine had felt guilty seeing these things she knew weren't meant for her. This time, though, she made full use of her supersensory faculty. She felt what Danny was emitting. It was frantic and objectionable. She let his energy stand in the air between them, let him experience it and become abashed, humbled. Then she said slowly, "Yes, it has. I hope you're well." It wasn't a question or an invitation, but he responded as if it were, rattling off updates from his life, filling the space with uselessness. Celine felt deeper in and found that he was still treating her as if she were a girl who was hungry for him, a lonely, delusional, obsessive girl that he must hold off with a wall of impersonal politeness and charm. She wanted to smile at his miscalculation, his self-absorption, his blind habit. She wanted to smile about it, so she did. "This is my girlfriend, Lauren," he said, turning to the girl standing beside him. Celine turned to her and took her in for the first time. She was nondescript, aggressively normal. "Hi, I'm Lauren, nice to meet you," the girl stuck out her hand, performing kindness while feigning disinterest. Celine smiled with her lips together and waited a beat. Lauren faltered but pretended not to. Then Celine took her hand. "Hello," she said. Lauren and Danny both laughed at nothing. Celine watched them. They seemed so constructed, she noticed, like claymation figures. How incredible that she'd ever thought Danny had something to offer her. "Okay," Celine said, "goodbye," and she turned back to her task. There was some scuffling behind her, a stuttering collision, as Danny and Lauren realized they'd been dismissed. Celine didn't, excuse me. Celine didn't look back or think of them again until she stopped in the store's bathroom after checking out. There, she saw her reflection in the mirror for the first time in many months. She looked in her own eyes, then tossed her head back and laughed until tears slid toward her ears. No wonder Danny had looked wild-eyed and skittish when she turned around to face him. She was so slender that her face had sharp edges, like the many corners of a room. Her hair was longer than it had ever been in her life and tangled. Her skin was luminous and her eyes were penetrating and severe. The bathroom door opened and a bland woman in Lululemons entered, glancing sidelong at Celine before entering a stall. Celine ignored her and chuckled at her reflection instead. Just like that song she used to sing all those lifetimes ago, the lyrics Celine sang over and over again. Kiss the old me goodbye, she's dead and gone. A prophecy, everything a sign, all the movements of her life ushering her here to the rightness of this path that had freed her, had saved her. She was clean and fearsome and powerful, and she was never, ever going back. Thank you.
That is one of my favorite things, is when somebody comes back to read another time and tells me, my book is coming out now. That's always wonderful to hear. Congratulations. Our next reader is Daniel Garrett. So he says.
Now, you might think with my oversized ego and my floppy shoes that I'm going to read something that, is beat and fast and impassioned and full of alliteration, but I'm not. I'm a very lazy and tired, might be wannabe poet these days, and so I don't really polish anything. So forgive me, these should have been worked over. There's just two of those, so it'll be over quickly. I think we had 5 minutes. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, friends and family, members of the jury and of the journey, I don't know how to get out of the mess I'm in. I find myself standing in front of a room of perfect strangers, reading some prepared script I only half believe in, saying it as much pretentiously as somewhat faux sonorously, but wanting nonetheless all along to realize it is a dream and wake up. So what now can I invoke from this emptiness I admit to, so filled with minutes, all of which are still bleeding out from unseen wounds? I can in fact glimpse strange beings standing in the back, pantomiming me with some important instructions that I just don't quite understand. And there seems to be something drumming at the walls, visitors from another dimension, trying to bring us all a little more space and light. And yes, I am a bit feverish and glassy-eyed, but the floor, you see, has assumed a kind of semi-transparent luminance, and I was never that good at swimming in time itself, any time that it assumes that sort of viscosity. I would ask all of you for help. Given that we are all figments of each other's imagination anyway, and what greater intimacy can there be than that? Even the utter lunacy of physical sex pales by comparison. And anyway, the lifeboats on this voyage have all been jettisoned and replaced with spaceships that look very much like coffins, but they're really pods and cocoons, and in each of those pods, there are a bride and groom coupling to give birth to an infinite number of doorways to other universes. And the keys are somewhere hidden within us, in that place known to be the place that is the safest of all safekeepings. And some call it the heart, and some somehow, like me, mirabile dictu, have forgotten it is there at all. That inner weirdness that opens with a wink and closes with a sigh, and only old lost poets and the unvarnished eyes of children can tell you when the time has truly come and it's done. Now, last time I did this with the phone, I got a call from my daughter, so I put it on silent. Okay, here we go. Tonight, as I have nothing more to say, I will instead begin to unsay all of the things I have said. I will unsay the sun and the moon, unsay the stars especially, from any course we might have set for them. Unsay the trees so that they may sway as they will. Unsay, of course, you and me, it being so coarse a way of saying it to begin with. Only my son and daughter's names I might not now unsay. All of the edifices of words have crumbled, except for the lovers and the memories of the lovers and the shadows of the memories of the lovers. Those in particular I distinctly unsay, that we might all be free to live as we will. Let me unsay completely even the sayings of unsaying, and unsay especially this body and its various wills. I will in fact unsay this country and this planet and all the countries upon it, until what is left is nothing but the purest, unutterable miracle of unsayable existence. And that too I will not say, lest I have to unsay it again, as I have said and then unsaid. All of the edifices of words have crumbled, or rather they have been freed to go their own singing ways. And having unsaid the night, we are left with light, unsayable in every way except loving. That too, it must be said, must not be said, lest it become other than what it is.
That was gorgeous. Thank you so much. Our next reader will be Farah Kazmi.
I'm so grateful to Julia. She always support and give me the chance to, share my writing with all of you. So good evening, everyone. April is a very special month for me because that's my birthday month. Last Friday, I celebrate my birthday with my kids, and I'm sharing one of my poems on my birthday and a little bit about my childhood. Another year of my life, another journey to begin. It's okay to have dreams. It's okay to have hope. It's okay to have sadness, and it's okay to have joy. All moments are part of my life, learning day by day of my life. Every moment is a treasure, holding in my heart with pleasure. A little bit about my childhood. On one beautiful spring day, on April 3rd, a young teenage girl holding a newborn baby girl in her arms, looking at her longingly, she wrapped her in a pretty cotton blanket and asked the baby's mom if she could take her home to show grandparents. Home was only 5 minutes from the hospital. I know it sounds very crazy, but at that time in a little town, everybody was very loving, supportive. It's a little town, everybody knows each other, people are relaxed. Mom got worried at first, but that girl didn't give up. No, please, I will not tell anyone, and I will bring her back as soon as possible. When the teenager girl got home, she ran to grandparents. 2 elder brothers, grandparents, aunt and uncle. They were all waiting so with excitement and joy to see the baby girl. Guess what the baby girl who was? Yes, that was me. And the teenage girl was my first cousin. I was born in a city named Karachi of Pakistan. According to our cultural tradition, we had a joint family system. My parents, my grandparents, 2 elder brothers, uncle, aunts were all living in the same house. In the same week when I born, the Iranian king Shah Raza Pahlavi and his wife Farah Shah Pahlavi visiting Pakistan. So my grandfather decided to name me Farah, which means peace of heart and happiness. According to our religion, Islam, names are very important. They are believed to influence a personal character, signifying religious identity, and act as a form of honor. Our last prophet, Muhammad, encouraged parents to choose good name and meaningful names, which can impact their personality all their life. This religious teaching means a lot to me, and no matter what challenges and difficulty comes in my life, I always find peace of heart, happiness after that. I was blessed to surrounded by my loving parents, brothers, and close family members who gave me immense amount of love, attention, and because of that love, I become a confident, outspoken, and sensitive person too. My father was a journalist also. He was a good writer. He was writing in a local newspaper. And I always, watching him, sitting with him in the morning, reading a newspaper, try to, with him. And that was so much fun with me also. I followed his footsteps. And that's the best reason I'm here standing with all of you and sharing my writing. My father used to tell me, I remember, that Farah, you talk a lot. You're going to be a teacher. And guess what? I am working in an elementary school as a media manager, and I'm teaching as well also. So I followed his footsteps. I became a writer, small writing, something. I'm trying my best. And also, I'm trying to be positive and productive in any way I can do it and help each other people. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Peace of heart, that's lovely, and it very much is you, very much. Thank you to all of the readers this evening. Before I round things out by sharing my own piece, I would like to remind you that you can still stay in touch with Moco Underground at mocounderground@gmail.com. If you want to be on the mailing list, there's a sign up on the back table there. It won't get you a whole lot, but it will get you Julia's very irregular newsletter for at least one more edition. And that one will be important because it'll have details about coming dates and how to get in touch with people who are taking things over after I leave. I would also like to invite you, after I am done sharing here, to take some more time, meet with the authors, pick up a copy of a book, grab a copy of Hannah Harley's forthcoming book, little cards. And thank you for coming tonight. So I will end this with a piece that I wrote for a literary journal. It hasn't been accepted yet. It's called the Taco Bell Quarterly. That's an actual literary magazine. It's been around for about 6 years, so I thought it was appropriate. It's about the same amount of time that I have been doing Moco Underground. The only real parameter for stories that are submitted to Taco Bell Quarterly is that they have to engage in some sort of a creative way with Taco Bell, the restaurant. And as it happened, I actually had a very strong connection to Taco Bell, so I decided I would try my hand at this. So here it is. What we mean when we say live mas. An open apology to the guy who towed my car from that Taco Bell. Dear sir, I'm sorry I cursed your chalupas in perpetuity. You had no way of knowing as you yoinked my car up and out of the space at the far end of the barren Taco Bell parking lot next to my child's apartment building, where even on National Taco Day no one ever parks, that even before you spotted my blinking hazard lights and thought, aha, someone's not here for the cravings menu, I was already treading water. I'm sorry I used my birthday candles later that week to wish you'd find a dead wasp curled up in your next bag of cinnamon twists, like my child did a few years ago when he was still little and laughed so easily. I can see now, you had no idea that after we carried up to their apartment the case of protein shakes I hoped they might drink, and the ground beef and rice I hoped they might eat, but knew would rot in the garbage I would drag from their apartment next week, while they apologized for not eating, even though there was a Taco Bell right next door, or that after we had carried up their groceries and prescriptions and bottled water, we had fully intended to head straight into the Bell so I could order them a steak quesadilla. When I realized my car was gone, had vanished, had disappeared, I wanted to drop to my knees right there in the empty parking lot and scream to the cruel heavens above the Live Moss sign in the window until there was nothing left of me but ash. But I couldn't do that because whatever was still left of my bones, my child needed to prop up their own. I'm pretty sure you had no idea when you towed my car that day that Taco Bell used to be our family's happy place in the before days, back when my kids would all laugh that Mom and Dad's first date, true story, was at a Taco Bell. When my husband and I would reminisce about what a treat those 10 packs of crunchy tacos were for two broke college kids, back when our own kids couldn't imagine how sweet those tacos tasted, back when living moss still meant just being young and in love and full of hope. Live moss. I'm sure you didn't realize what a prayer those words became for me in those perilous moments after you towed my car. I know it wasn't your fault that's where we were that day, any more than it was your fault Taco Bell discontinued Cinnamon Crispas. We're all at the mercy of forces we don't understand and can't control. I see now how wrong I've been to think you should have known how fragile my child was that day. Or to think that, like me, you could not stop seeing the afterimage burned onto your retinas of their hunched frame rocking on the edge of the rooftop of their apartment building next to that Taco Bell. Or that you must have seen from the cab of your truck that their grip on this world that day was as transient and delicate as the blue of a melting Baja blast. Expectations and realities often misalign like that. I know that now. I know it's not your fault we didn't go inside the Bell that afternoon and share an order of nacho fries or any food at all. By the time the Uber driver had carried us gently to the impound lot, and the clerk eventually called us to the service counter, and we finally got my car out and drove silently back to the empty lot by that Taco Bell, my child had curled into themselves like a too-tight burrito and told me they were no longer hungry. They didn't want any stupid nacho fries. I should just leave. They were gonna go lie down. I should just leave. It was okay for me to leave. They'd be okay. I would like you to know that before I left them that afternoon, they promised me they would try to make some food later. They promised they'd text me when they woke up again. They promised me. It's okay that you didn't know that then. It's taken some time and space for me to realize how wrong I have been to hate you so much for towing my car that day. I know now you were just doing your job. It wasn't your fault my child was fighting for their life. It never has been. And for that, I owe you this apology. But life has a way of surprising us, so I owe you this too. Though I don't know you at all, I still think you'd be happy to know that my child is doing better. And we both actually think you did them a favor, because after you towed my car, they moved out of that apartment building next to that Taco Bell with the always empty parking lot and started getting the help they needed. And maybe it's correlation and not causation, but after months of averting our eyes whenever we saw a Live Moss sign, we've even started eating Taco Bell together again when I visit them at school. Although not at that Taco Bell. Never that one. Yes, my child is actually living moss now, and slowly but surely coming back to us. And when we talk about you these days, which we do more often than you might believe, we both agree that someone whose job completely fucks up 9 out of 10 people every single day probably has his own worst days on the regular. So I decided it was time to let you know I don't hate you anymore. I wish you well. No, I wish you more than that, so much more. I wish you mas. Yes, live mas. And when you do, I hope you think of us too. Thank you. Thank you for a wonderful final night of hosting. This has been an absolute joy for me the 6 years, and what a wonderful capstone event tonight. Thank you for being a part of it, everyone. I would ask all of the readers if you wouldn't mind coming up so we can get a picture together, and I would ask audience members to please feel free to snap your own pictures and send them to mocounderground@gmail.com. Thank you.